Welcome to Origins, where we dive deeper into the actual origins of your favorite superheroes and villains. Today, we're going to look at a mess, Kyle Rayner of the Green Lantern Corps. So Kyle is an interesting individual. He didn't really survive the most recent DC reboot unscathed. So we're going to explain his original origin, and then we're going to explain how he earned the White Ring. Kyle was chosen to become a Green Lantern during one of the darkest periods in the history of the Green Lanterns. This is when there were no longer any Green Lanterns at all. You see, Hal Jordan had just suffered a great tragedy with the loss of Coast City. The entire city was destroyed by Mongol, and after defeating Mongol, Hal Jordan was mentally unstable and he tried to cope by recreating Coast City and his friends, until his ring's energy died. A guardian then appeared before him and told him to report to Oa for punishment for using his power ring for personal gain. Hal went insane and he travels to Oa, where he kills every Green Lantern and he destroys the central power battery. He then takes all of the power into himself and becomes a character named Parallax. The fear entity known as Parallax was actually being housed in the central Green Lantern power battery and had used Hal Jordan's time of despair to infect him and take control of the once great Green Lantern. This storyline is known as Emerald Twilight, and it continues on with the Parallax version of Hal Jordan trying to rewrite history itself. But this is only a catalyst that brought us Kyle Rayner. You see, when the entirety of Oa was destroyed, the Guardians managed to use all of their power to save one Guardian, Ganthet, and they created one last power ring. Ganthet traveled to Earth, where he discovered a broke Kyle walking down a dark alley, and he chose Kyle to become the sole Green Lantern and Torchbearer, whom would eventually bring back the entire Corps based on his ability to overcome great fear, not just deal with it. From this point forward, Kyle spent the next 10 years as the only Green Lantern, and he even housed the Green Lantern entity Ion at this point. Now, the reason that I say that the New 52 kind of made his origin a mess is it was slightly retconned. Originally, when the New 52 started, they established that the Emerald Twilight had actually still happened, or at least some form of it. But as time went on, they kind of retconned that a little bit and basically stated that Kyle Rayner was a hand-picked Green Lantern by Ganthet because of his ability to deal with the various emotions. I prefer to stick with his original origin because it gives his character so much more life and it gives him so much more purpose to the Green Lantern mythos. Now, for the White Ring. This is a very long storyline that I think ended after like 20 issues and then continued on with him as the actual White Lantern. And I actually intend to get to it, which is why we're not going to fully explain what happened right here, but I am going to give you guys a gist so you can understand how it happened. So at the start of the New 52, Kyle discovered that he was a magnet for every emotion in the emotional spectrum. Due to this, a ring from each core was drawn to him, even killing off the original hosts in some situations, such as the Red Lanterns, where if they remove the ring, their heart stops beating. Once he acquired all of them, he went to Ganthet to try and figure out why he was attracting all of these rings, and he discovered that Ganthet had had his emotions stripped by the other Guardians. See, I told you that this is a rather long story. At that point, all of the rings jumped onto Kyle's hands at the same time, pumping him full of every emotion and making him a pseudo-White Lantern. He looked kind of like a Gray Lantern at this time. But he wasn't able to contain all of the emotions within his body at this time, and every ring broke apart except for the orange ring. Kyle decided that he needed to figure out what was going on, and he also learned from another one of the Guardians that he could potentially save Ganthet and get him his emotions back. So he resigned from the Corps while retaining his ring, and then shortly afterwards he learned that the orange ring didn't break because it wasn't a ring. The orange ring was actually Gloomus, and he had been sent by Larfleeze to spy on what had happened to Kyle. Well, I don't want to reveal how Kyle became a magnet, because that's the big reveal for the first two arcs of the New Guardians, and we aren't going to do an actual complete story on that whole thing right this second, but we are going to get there because it's one of my favorite story arcs in the New 52. But eventually, Kyle and Carol Ferris, the Star Sapphire, realize that he has the potential to become a White Lantern, so they travel the entire universe going to the homeworld of each of the Corps, where Kyle learns to harness the emotions to the point of wielding each ring individually. Once he harnesses each emotion, he eventually creates a White Lantern ring from that, and then he enters the final battles of the Corps at the end of all of the Green Lantern storylines as the White Lantern. It's one heck of a journey, and like I said, I fully intend to cover it once our Green Lantern stories get to that point, but we do have to get there so you fully understand what's happening. And that's it, the very basic story of how Kyle got his green ring, and then a very condensed version of how he got his white ring. I do highly recommend the New Guardians story arc if you have the time, because I'm a huge Green Lantern fan and I actually enjoyed Kyle's journey more than the regular books. Now don't forget, if you enjoy video games, this entire Comicstorian project started as a side project from our video game variety channel, known as Eligible Monster. You can find the link in the description down below, and we really would appreciate it if you would join us on that channel. I'm Benny for Comicstorian, and if you want to chat about this video or anything else, follow me at Comicstorian on Twitter, and I'll talk to you guys next time.